The Social Development Department will be hosting a population policy conference to mark World Population Day. Some of the discussions will include a focus on young parenting and a 2023 State of the World Population Report, which will be delivered by Minister Lindiwe Zulu. The report will also focus on a whole range of issues, including the empowerment of women and girls. Let's bring you some analysis ahead of the kickoff of this conference, which is from today until Thursday, I believe. Population and Development Department's Chief Executive, Jacques Van Zuydam, joins us this morning. Jacques, it's great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for making time to speak to us. So when we talk about, the importance of a policy of a conference of this nature, it's perhaps in the topic of this conference, right? The progress made in implementing the policies included in population statistics in the development goals of any country. And this time it's us.
Yes, indeed. Over the past 25 years, our country has changed a lot, and it has also changed a lot demographically. So at the time when the population policy was adopted in 1998, the country's population, for example, numbered about 40 million people, and today we are slightly more than 60 million people. Within the numbers changes, there's also been so-called structural changes. 25 years ago, almost 40% of South Africans were 15 years old or younger, and today that number is less than 30%, whilst at the same time the proportion that older persons make up of our population has increased from around 6% to more than 9%, and obviously the number has increased a lot as well. Back then, our people lived about half in urban areas, half in rural areas. Today, more than 60% live in urban areas. So the entire demographic landscape has changed over the past 25 years. And of course, one needs to take stock from time to time.
What a pity. We seem to be struggling with our connection there to Jacques Van Zuydam. I'm going to give us just a few moments to see whether that connection does stabilize so that we can continue with this discussion. But what Jacques has already told us around... there you are. You're back, Jacques. Thanks very much for holding on. We lost you for a second there, but I want to pick up...
Really?
I want to pick up from what you said about, how our demographic has changed over the past 25 years. And surely we must respond in very real ways insofar as our policies are concerned, where young people are concerned, and where communities are concerned insofar as how we take care of our older people.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Part of what drives change, of course, are the interventions that are made and the investments that are made into people. So for example, 25 years ago, there was no child support grant. 25 years ago, many children were not at school, and there were not schools for all children in the country. So those investments have obviously contributed to, for example, a declining birth rate. It has also contributed to the greater participation in economic activity by women in South Africa. But at the same time, we see that poverty, inequality, and unemployment sort of persist, which basically tells us that whilst we can congratulate ourselves on some of the achievements that we've made, that we also need to sort of interrogate and ask ourselves, but why are the indicators around socioeconomic quality of life not moving in a positive direction as rapidly as one would have expected them to move? And that's obviously what the conference interrogates. You've mentioned that it's World Population Day today. The theme for World Population Day focuses on unleashing the power of gender equality, and probably a lot of the challenges we are still facing is because we need to do more in order to achieve gender equality, to enable women to really participate as equals within our economic life as well as our social life. And that would bring the benefits, of a more sort of, engaged population that to society as a whole.
Yeah, certainly. I see, just according to the breakdown of the 3 days of this conference, a lot of what you've unpacked for us insofar as the demographic of the country is concerned will be dealt with today. And then tomorrow, from what I can see, all of the program tomorrow deals with what you've just mentioned. Gender rights, women empowerment, and of course, very importantly as well, sexual health and reproductive rights.
Yes, indeed. In the area of sexual and reproductive health and rights, I think many of us are mindful of the fact that we've legislated so many rights around sexual and reproductive health, the freedom to choose, access to contraceptive services, etc. But what we've also, sort of come across in our research over the past year or so is that whilst the rights are there, many individuals, particularly women and young and girls, are not actively enjoying those rights, in their daily lives. And that is obviously something that, in addition to what the government is responsible for delivering, the whole of society, and particularly men in our society, need to actively recognize and live those rights in order to make empowerment something that women really feel and live every day. So yes, tomorrow there's a very strong focus on gender-related issues. And of course, the day after that, the focus moves to migration and urbanization, which in itself also contains a whole range of gender issues, because women migrants do face different challenges from male migrants, whether it is somebody who migrates internationally across borders into the country, or whether it is somebody who just moves from one part of the country to another part of the country. It's as if, certain challenges tend to follow women wherever they go. And as a society, we need to own up to the fact that gender inequality in all spaces is unacceptable, and that we have to do our parts to address that. And obviously from the conference, we look forward to coming out with clear recommendations from experts and activists who work in all spaces on what practically needs to be done to do that, so that one puts that into sort of the way forward with population policy for the country. Yeah,
and hopefully on day 2, when you will deal with all of those gender equality and sexual reproductive rights issues, the issues of child pregnancies, which is a major scourge in our country, will also come up. And hopefully there will be some policy direction on that score as well. But Jacques, I just want to touch base with you on, how these kinds of discussions could feed into other issues, perhaps even into how we approach the elections next year.
Yes, I'm a public servant, not a politician. But I think what is important for all South Africans is that it's almost like we need to draw up our own scorecards, and when political parties campaign, we need to check, what are they saying about gender equality? What are they saying about various rights issues? What are they saying about sexual and reproductive health and rights? So that we don't just sort of engage politically on the basis of headline issues, but that we actually also engage on the quality of life issues and the extent to which our political leaders across different parties articulate those issues. I think the other element, of course, is that the presidency is leading the 30-year progress review study on, how has government performed over the past 30 years, and how have we done in terms of creating a South Africa that we envisaged 30 years ago. So this population work will obviously feed directly into that, so that one doesn't, have a national policy discourse that does not bring demographics on board, and also that one doesn't discuss demographics without making it relevant to the day-to-day bread and butter issues that are supposed to be reflected in development planning.
Yeah, I think you have a point. Perhaps not at these discussions, but I think political parties will certainly be paying attention to what's being said at this population conference today. Jacques Van Zuydam, let me thank you for your time this morning. He's the Chief Director for Population and Development with the Social Development Department.